The smell of burnt coffee lingered in the air long after sunrise. In a narrow street on the south side of Savannah, Georgia, where brick buildings leaned toward each other like tired old men sharing secrets, stood a small diner with a flickering sign. Lena's Corner Plate, Soul Food and Heart. The sign had been repaired so many times that half the letters glowed brighter than the others. The R in corner blinked stubbornly, refusing to stay lit, like it was tired of pretending everything was fine. Inside the diner, Lena Carter, age 36, wiped the counter for the third time that morning even though it was already clean. Not because it needed cleaning, because wiping things gave her hands something to do while her mind replayed the same worries on repeat. Rent was due in 9 days. The gas bill was overdue. And the bank had called yesterday, again. Lena was a black woman entrepreneur, a first-generation business owner who had poured every ounce of her savings, pride, and grief into this place. She wore her hair pulled back in a loose bun, a faded apron tied around her waist, and exhaustion under her eyes that no amount of sleep could fix. This diner wasn't supposed to be a struggle. It was supposed to be a second chance. Her mother, Evelyn Carter, had run a food truck for nearly 20 years before cancer took her too early. The recipes Lena cooked every day, the fried chicken, the collard greens, the cornbread that melted in your mouth, were her mother's legacy. When Evelyn passed, Lena promised 2 things. 1, she would keep the recipes alive. 2, she would never turn away someone hungry. That second promise was the one testing her the most at BY mid-morning. The diner had only served 4 customers. 2 construction workers who split a plate, a retired teacher who ordered coffee but no food, and a college student who counted coins before paying. Lena stood near the window, watching the street. That's when she noticed him. An old man sat on the curb directly across from the diner, hunched forward, his coat far too thin for the February cold. His beard was long and gray, tangled like it hadn't seen a comb in years. His shoes were cracked at the soles, and his hands trembled as he rubbed them together for warmth. He wasn't holding a sign. He wasn't asking for money. He was just sitting there, staring at the diner window, at the food, at the people inside. Lena felt a familiar tightening in her chest. She had seen hunger before, real hunger, the kind that made your eyes dull and your body quiet. She tried to look away. She really did. But every time she glanced back, he was still there, still watching. Lena's cook, Marcus, stepped out from the kitchen, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We're down 3 trays of chicken," he said quietly. "If we don't make it through lunch, we're going to be in trouble." Lena nodded. She knew. Every plate mattered. Every dollar mattered. She looked back at the man outside again. Her mind argued with her heart. "You can't afford this today. You already gave away meals last week. You're not a charity." But then her mother's voice surfaced, gentle, firm, unignorable. "Baby, hunger don't wait for your bills to get paid." Lena sighed. She grabbed a to-go container. "Marcus," she said, her voice steady even though her hands weren't. "Fix me a full plate. Chicken, greens, mac and cheese. Add cornbread." Marcus paused. Then he nodded without argument. Because he knew her. Lena stepped outside, the cold biting through her apron. The old man looked up as she approached, startled, as if he hadn't expected to be seen. "I'm sorry," he said quickly, pushing himself back with his hands. "I wasn't bothering anyone. I'll move." "You don't need to move," Lena replied gently. She held out the container. "Here. It's hot." The man stared at it like it wasn't real. "For me?" he asked, his voice thin. "Yes, sir." He hesitated. Then his hands reached out, trembling harder now. "I don't have anything," he said. "No money." Lena shook her head. "Today, you don't need any." The man swallowed, eyes glistening. "Thank you," he whispered. Not loudly, like he was afraid the word might break. He ate slowly, carefully, like every bite mattered. Lena watched from the doorway for a moment before returning inside. She thought that would be the end of it. She was wrong. The next morning, the man was back. This time, he stood near the door, hat in his hands. "I don't want food today," he said when she approached. "I just wanted to thank you properly." Lena smiled. "You already did." He hesitated, then said, "My name is Walter Hughes." The name meant nothing to her. "Not yet. I'm Lena." Walter nodded. "You run this place, right?" She laughed softly. "Trying to." He looked around the diner, his eyes lingering on the walls, the menu, the old photos Lena kept of her mother behind the counter. "You remind me of someone," he said. Lena tilted her head. Who? Myself, he replied. Over the next week, Walter came by every day. Sometimes Lena fed him. Sometimes he just sat outside, warming his hands around a coffee cup. They talked. About the weather. About food. About life. Eventually, pieces of his past emerged. Walter had once owned a successful regional restaurant supply business. He had contracts with dozens of diners across Georgia and South Carolina. Then came the accident. A drunk driver. A wife gone in seconds. A son who blamed him for surviving. Grief swallowed him whole. Bad decisions followed. Then worse ones. The business collapsed. The house was sold. And one day, he woke up with nothing left but the clothes he was wearing. People think homelessness starts with laziness, Walter said quietly one afternoon. It usually starts with loss. Lena felt that. Deeply. One Tuesday morning, a city inspector walked in. Clipboard. Stern face. Lena's heart dropped. She passed the inspection, barely. But as he left, he said something that froze her. You're behind on property compliance fees. If that's not resolved within 30 days, the city can revoke your operating permit. 30 days. Lena sat down hard in a booth. She didn't tell Marcus. She didn't tell anyone. Except Walter. I might lose this place, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Walter looked at her, truly looked. You fed me when you had nothing to spare, he said. Let me try to do something. Lena smiled sadly. You already did. You reminded me why I started. Then one day, Walter didn't show up. Lena waited. An hour. 2. All day. The next morning, still nothing. A week passed. Lena worried. Had he gotten sick? Arrested? Worse? She never got answers. What she did get was a letter. The envelope arrived by certified mail. Inside was a letter and a check. The letter read, Lena, you reminded me who I used to be before I forgot how to care. I had one asset left. I didn't know if it would work, but it did. Use this to keep your doors open. Don't look for me. Just keep feeding people. Walter. The check was for $87,000. Enough to clear her debts. Enough to save the diner. Lena cried at the counter while customers pretended not to notice. Months later, a local news station ran a story. Former restaurant mogul reemerges after years homeless. The man on the screen was Walter. He had reunited with his son. He had rebuilt his life. And in the interview, he said one sentence that made Lena stop breathing. A black woman with nothing but kindness fed me when the world walked past. Everything I have now started with that plate. Lena framed that quote. It hangs on the wall of Lena's corner plate today. She still feeds people who can't pay. Still struggles sometimes. But the diner is open. And every night, when she locks the door, she whispers the same promise her mother made. No one leaves hungry.